So in today's video, I'm going to clarify some rather commonly asked questions about the Amazon interview. So the first one would be, are there any Amazon-specific questions at all? And the simple answer to this is no. There are no Amazon-specific questions, and this applies both to the behavioral questions as well as the more situational types of questions. Now, there is, truth be said, there are the bar raisers who more often than not design their own questions, but still from here to saying those are Amazon branded questions, I believe there's a long way to go, because those people actually have the luxury and are actually encouraged to design their own questions to challenge that specific candidate. So long story short, there are no Amazon specific behavioral questions. So basically any strong behavior interviewing program should ramp you up sufficiently well for the Amazon interview. The second point I want to touch here is that there are many places on the internet. I mean, many places. I've seen some places that have a rather suspicious amount of Amazon interview questions, and more likely than not, there are some leaks going on those places. And there are two aspects here that I want to touch upon. The first one is you should understand why that leak exists in the first place. And in my opinion, in that website's case, it's the leak exists because they want to play nice with Google's search engine optimization. In other words, they want to bring in more visitors, so they sell their services. This is one thing. Reason number two is, the second thing I want to touch upon here is I somewhat flirted with this type of business, that of selling questions that are tailored for a specific role for an interview, right in the beginning when I was just starting with the coaching. And I can tell you, I was so surprised how ineffective this technique was. And actually, I believe you are more likely to lose the job than to get the job if you employ such a technique, that I actually discontinued it. And why is this so bad to go with such an approach, to accumulate as many questions as possible? Well, because that's like watching YouTube videos over and over again. You just accumulate information, but you don't spend enough time to think how to improve on yourself. It's there's a saying, the journey inside is a lot broader than the journey outside. So in other words, the way to prepare for an interview is to spend time to properly design those questions and to role play those questions. The time you spend on gathering these many questions, as I said in the first point, they are generic behavioral questions or situational questions, so you don't get much benefit from this. So this is why this strategy of gathering as many questions as possible, no matter what the role you're applying for, is not a good strategy. So I would definitely not recommend this one. The third point I wanted to talk here is about delays. Amazon interviews is plagued with delays. To me, it's even surprising how many delays can happen in Amazon interviews. And to the other extreme, there are also on-site interviews with 1 or 2 days notice. So this happens as well. But the more interesting is the delay part. And Amazon is well known for saying they'd rather hire well than to hire fast. So this is why they are more likely to introduce delay in an interviewing process. But the main reason I want to talk about this is because I believe that there is a unique value proposition here that you can benefit from. In other words, if you know they're going to delay you, it means you will have a lot more time to prepare. It means you can have a more strategic approach to this preparation process. So you could actually maximize your investment into this by I recommend people to spend 50% on the theory and 50% on the practice, at least for the behavioral part. So if you have more time, I would encourage you to increase that 50% practice if you can, to self-diagnose and to get better outcomes from this process. And the reason for this is not only that this behavioral preparation would be extremely useful in many other interviews, but it will be useful also on the job itself. So as a communication strategy, people that do well in behavioral interviewing are excellent communicators. And you bet that that's one of the main reasons why Amazon is quite serious about these things for many, many roles. So use these delays to your advantage. This would be my number one piece of advice here. And I've seen this working over and over again, so definitely recommend you to do the same. Next, what if they tell you that the role has been filled in and they invite you for another one? Unfortunately, I've heard about several occasions of this happening, and it is unfair. It is unfair, but unfortunately, it's not you who has the upper hand in this process. So I would very much encourage you to take the new application process seriously. And eventually, this usually happens when they are supposed to invite you for the loop, and then the position gets filled, and they then invite you for another position on the loop directly. So I would very much encourage you to take the process seriously, because as being a huge company, 600,000 people, you can imagine they have roles to fill. And I don't think, I know for sure Amazon HR are not bad-intentioned people. That I can tell you. I can really be honest about this. I've never heard of any such instance of not being honest about not offering good jobs to the right people. Now, okay, you know that they give you delays and so on and so forth. That's part of the business, but they are genuinely interested in putting the best people in the best possible roles. So if they invite you for another one, I would very much encourage you to take the opportunity. And even if you tell them, hey, I need more time to prepare for the interview, that's fine. But still, I would very much encourage you to take the opportunity, because I strongly believe the role will very much make sense in your case. Number 5, does anyone at all get hired at Amazon these days? Why did I introduce this question here? Is because last year it was one of the years where Amazon hired the least in recent years, and this is because they made many mergers and acquisitions. But this year, things have changed, and actually there's been an article in the news that they reportedly said they're going to invest a lot more into HR, into hiring. And I don't believe it's only because the scale of my channel has improved, but also because the hiring, the job market at Amazon has significantly improved. So there are more and more people reporting on my channel, for example, that they got hired than there were last year. And I believe that the job market at Amazon specifically right now is particularly good. And number 6, what if you get rejected? How soon can you reapply? And I've heard, and as far as I know, if you've done really poorly on the on-site interview, they will tell you to stay for 1 year until you can reapply. But if they don't tell you, then to my understanding, you can reapply as soon as you find something interesting. Yes, so as soon as you find something interesting, in my opinion, you can reapply. And by the way, you have a dashboard there as soon as you apply that you probably apply to multiple roles there. And to my understanding, you're still going to be considered for those roles. Although, you know, I have to say I'm no expert into how Amazon's internal HR processes work. But if the software says that, hey, the application is pending, then more likely than not, it is pending after all. What I would encourage you if you get rejected is to make a post-mortem, that is to evaluate why you got rejected from this process, because more often than not, that will reveal many darker spots in your preparation, and maybe write those down somewhere and keep them in mind for next time you apply, or maybe start filling in those gaps in your prep immediately if you're planning to reapply at Amazon or at a similar company. But postmortems are really useful. I can tell you this from experience. If you intend to reapply at that company. So these were my few elements that I wanted to touch upon here, that I got asked a lot that I wanted to clarify. So hopefully you found some information useful. And if you do want to support this channel, please feel free to share your interview outcomes in the comment sections of the video. Thank you.